Okay, I recently sat down and told the Obsessed Garage story, and I went back chronologically and looked at a bunch of my old videos and the old journals and things like that. And one of the things that kind of got this whole thing started was the exhaust saga on the GT3. My 991.1 GT3, I didn't accept the fact that the valve operation was real sort of annoying, and there really weren't any options. All we had were Sharkworks and GMG. They had their center bypass that they kind of carried over from the 997 generation, and it just wasn't really a great option. So I was waiting for quite some time for somebody to come out with something, and I immediately got started working with M&M and FED Brombacher, and then I called Sol, I called AWE. I don't even know was Sol in existence at the time. I guess they would have been brand new shortly after that. But I called all these different companies to hopefully hope that they would come up with something. And so same thing with this car. The sound is okay. Inside the car it's great. But it needs to be, for as loud looking as it is, I think it needs to have more character. And so we're going to try some different variants. I don't think this is going to become an exhaust saga where I had 15 different iterations of exhaust on my GT3s over the last 6 years. But I am going to try some different configurations just for the fun of it. I mean, this car, I think the configuration we're going to do today will probably end up being the one. But right now, Sol has several different variants, and they have a rear section coming out at some point here too, hopefully. And so I'm going to share with you all those different options. We'll capture sound clips, do installs, and we'll see where we end up at the end. My guess is I'm going to end up with over-axle pipes, and whenever they come out with a rear section, that will probably be the magical combo. But I am going to try a valveless race setup and try their race headers and things like that. And I even told John at Sol that likely I'll get bored, and when Dundon or AWE or who knows who else comes out with exhaust, I'll probably try those too, just for the fun of it. The beauty of these GT cars, they come apart and they go back together so much nicer than any other car on the planet. They're so highly engineered that you can do things like this and not mess anything up. So what we're going to do here today is an over-axle pipe, and we're going to look at sort of the configuration of the exhaust. I think we can get away with this. The directions say I just remove the rear wheels. We're going to back out the factory studs on the rear section, and it should be a pretty straightforward install. I could probably do it without even removing the rear wheels, but I want to get in there so you can see it. And so really what we're doing, even though the overall diameter, you'll notice that this is a much straighter looking design, much straighter through looking design than the factory over axle pipe. But this does exactly what it says. It comes up over the rear axle, and then this section here is where we really pick up our sound, because we're going to eliminate, we're also going to find out, I'm pretty sure the US cars don't have a filter, but it does have a particulate filter bung, which is part of a requirement by European emissions regulations. And so we're basically going to be removing that big housing there, and it'll be interesting to look in there and see what it looks like. And we're getting a much more straight through design. So despite the fact that we're only changing this one pipe, we should get quite a bit more volume out of the car. Now, this won't be affecting the valves. The valves are past this section. I'll show you all of that. And I actually have a valve controller from Sol that we'll be installing later on. There's also some promising development from, I've been talking to DSC. They make the DSC controller, about making a PSE button enabled OE-like box for total valve control, but we'll talk about that as we get into the project. So let's take the rear wheels off, and let's get the car up in the air and show you what we're working with. Okay, nice and easy. This, I'm telling you, this thing is amazing. We could probably get away with a lower torque version like the compact or the mid torque, but I love having the extended anvil built right in here. So factory cat Man, that's a kind of a tiny little neck there. So we actually may gain a little horsepower with this over axle pipe. Now I know that Dundon's working on a through axle option. I think that's what they did on the 981, but I don't know, we'll see. So this, there's 3 bolts here on top, but you have header, comes down to the catalytic converter, and then you have this pipe that goes over the axle, and you have this big giant hunk of filter here that we're going to take off. So it's almost like a secondary cat here that we're going to be removing. Now, I don't think the filters are actually in here on the USDM cars. I guess not USDM, but the US market cars. But we're going to open it up and we're going to take a look at it here. So let me take these off while the car's down low, and then we'll go up with it and show you an upper view. So these are probably, what, 13 millimeter, 12 millimeter? So if you haven't been following along, I bought an additional set of sonic tools, but this time I asked them to give me every single tool. Yeah, 13 millimeter. I asked them to get me every single tool that they make so that I can start to craft and build out my own version of a full set of tools. Oh, I'm freaking tightening again. God dang it. I'm like, there's no way that's on that tightly. So this should be a relatively straightforward install here. But we're about to find out. Seems awfully long. What is this, a Mustang? All right, we're gonna get some power tools, because that's annoyingly long. Let's see if we can get a ratchet in there. I think a 3/8 long neck will fit. Got all these fancy tools, might as well try and use them. Next up is, my new spawn lift arrived, so we're gonna be swapping our twin bush out here shortly. And really, pretty exciting. Actually forgot about that lift. Let's just break it loose with our ratchet. And we ought to be able to fit this in here, let's see. That's a little quicker. And we got one more on the back side. I don't know if this is gonna fit. I might get the short neck since I have it. This is why you have both. I gotta put the little, don't I have little rubber heads for all these things? I gotta put them on mine. It's gonna fit that way. Somebody stole my medium extension. Where is it? Bet you the warehouse team stole it. It's way quicker than doing it by hand. All right, 3 bolts are off. So let's go up. Okay, so the good news, we don't have to take any of this off for this part of the project, but you'll notice there's our OPF, our particulate filter. And then there are 2 sections here. So there's the larger straight through section, and then looks like the piping is actually pretty similar on this, but the top section would be for when the valves are closed, and then the valve sits right here. And so we can try disconnecting the valves and see, but I think John from Seoul told me it's pretty darn annoying drone. So I don't think we want to go there. So what we're gonna do is take these bolts off, and then we're gonna remove the stud and put all new bolts in. Because if we don't remove the stud, then you'd have to take this rear section off in order to fit the axle pipe in. These are probably gonna be loose enough I can get away with just using the darn ratcheting wrench. What's the reverse nut method? So where we put the nut on backwards and then turn. It says in the instructions to use the reverse nut method to get these studs out. So we flip the nut around.
You're saying like you stack a nut on another nut and you can...
Or do we just turn the nut? No, that's not gonna work. Because we need to get these studs
use a
out.
double nut method to back out.
Double nut, okay, not reverse nut.
Reverse nut.
I'm gonna work on this easy one here first. So, if I take and put this nut on top of the other nut, there we go. So don't take them all off. You're just gonna have to put it back on. If this was on longer, you'd most certainly want to put some PB Blast or something on there. So there we go. Double nut. Put one nut on top. And what we'll do, we'll break this loose. And we need this nut again. Let's put this one back on. I'll take this one, put it on top. And then sure gotta do a lot of these. Uh-oh. That doesn't feel happy. That stud does not want to come out. Oh. Yep. Broke it off. Shoot, I'm gonna have to tap it out now. Well, it's on the particulate filter, so who cares? It's really odd how that was backing out so nice and evenly and then kind of got cross-threaded. The top ones are actually easier than the bottom ones. Okay, 2 hours later, we got all those nuts off. Now, the only problem is we got one stud, the bottom stud, is still on there. I think this is going to be very friendly to us. We're going to have to pull back on the stock exhaust here on the rear section. I'll push and pull the roo. I'm going back up. I'm assuming we're going to want to reuse this gasket, so I don't want to ruin it by jamming a screwdriver in there. I think that's what I'm going to have to do though. Get an old crowbar. It's getting real up in here. Real Porsche. This is the Mormon version of Porsche engineering. Got it. All right. Now, I have to cut that gasket off, or cut that. I wonder if I pull it down. There we go. Now this should just lift up. This is not the easiest thing to deal with the, I gotta pull this thing off. So we have to pop this thingy off of there. It's holding our cable in place. The cable out. Whoa! Blood hand! Dang it! Stuck on the stud. I'm gonna come down. Yeah, I don't know why that one stud wouldn't thread out. It's because it's at kind of a weird angle that it won't release off the header.
Smack it into the muffler. So.
I need to cut that thing off. It's because I needed to go back at the regular angle. this point, I should just taken the whole exhaust off. So if that stud wasn't a problem, this would lift right out, no issue. So close. Needs like another inch. Yeah, I'm gonna cut it off. Now I got it stuck. It needs like that exact angle to come out. Now let's tap it out. I shaved it pretty well there. When are you going to do some real wrenching? Once you, by rephrase that, you mean, when are you going to buy some piece of garbage and make it a little less garbagey, but it's still garbage? Like, you should watch Goon Squad. They do a lot with nothing.
Nope.
It's like, what? They take garbage and make it more garbage. There we go. That's all we needed, Bryce.
Got it.
Look at that little old hunk of steel. It's actually not that heavy. That sure does look like a darn particulate filter to me, doesn't it? I don't know, maybe one of you guys that have... Yeah, that's definitely a filter. Unless there's some other piece that goes in there. Sure looks like it. It's not super heavy. But we're going to convert that to this. One of these. This one? Yeah, that one. A little more my style. This should slide in. Oh yeah, this is way better. It's gonna, I can already tell this is gonna sound completely different. I know I'm gonna get serious smash fingers here in a second. Heads up. Did they give us new hardware for these up top here? How many of those bolts do we have? Okay, then no. Or use the factory ones. Oh man, this is gonna be awesome. I can't wait to fire this thing up. So we got 3 bolts on top. Put them on here loosely. Gotta put our gasket back in there. It's a pretty looking gasket.
Multi-layer metal gasket.
Yeah, with some sort of ceramic. Ceramicness on there. Which side do you think the washers go on? I would think the washers go on the nut side. And I think I put this on backwards. I think it's gonna make sense to leave this loose over here. That way it'll make the other side a little easier to come out. In case I have to cut that stud off the top. This is gonna be awesome when they get a rear section for this. That's gonna be the way to go. I like to be heard. Actually, I don't really give a crap about anybody else. I just want to hear it myself. Why is my phone ringing? I don't want to talk to you. Get out of here. Okay, so that's all on there. Now let's try to get that bolt off. What do you think? What are we gonna do? How are we gonna do this? I got an idea. Yep, that's the trick. I just had to loosen the nut. Then it would allow the stud to turn, I think. Nope. I think I got it.
That's a good
That's the snap we were looking for. I don't think it was my wrist. Look a little Mormon leaning, that's all. Too many muscles, Bryce. Too much blood flow hanging upside down here. Did we take those header bolts off? Shoot, I think I changed my mind about doing headers on this thing. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get up in there. Yeah, we got plenty of preload to lower this sucker. Jeez. This is like a freaking Ford. It's 40 feet long. Seems like there's less room on this side. Okay, that's out. Now, let's disconnect this cable here. It's connected in 2 spots on this pipe. And we're out. Pipe number 2.
There we go.
Gosh, I'm pumped. I want to get this on here immediately. Just gonna have to ram it in there a little bit. Pull back on this factory exhaust. Don't pull the car off. God, so close. Come on, Bryce.
You already whacked my knuckle real freaking good.
I didn't whack anything.
You whacked the pipe, which whacked my knuckle. Got it in there?
Yep. It's extra tight. I'm thinking this would be way easier to do if you just took the darn bumper off. Bryce is having a... He's looking more like Maddie today.
Ow. That's like right on the knuckle. Like, push the pipe and it went bam. Oh.
It's good for me. So that's what you feel like every time I hurt something? It's a good feeling.
That's why I was having a hard time. Like, look at that. That ain't right.
That ain't right.
That's why I was like, what are you talking about? Rotate. I'm like, this thing ain't going. Switchbacks don't even.
Let's throw the whole floor away because of that.
Right?
I put the other one right in, well, no problem.
I was going insane trying to put it in there. I'm like, what the heck's going on?
There we go, that's it. And we're in. 12. Oh, these are 13s. 13, and I'm gonna get another 13. We'll just use a baby 13. So there's basically no adjustment up here. I feel like this side has a lot more room to work with. Those are good. Okay. They might be good. Maybe, maybe not. Let's go back up. Shoot. Amazing how much easier these are to tighten without that giant particulate filter in the way. Pretty cool. I didn't realize John's pretty smart in his design here, getting the sole right in the wheel well there, right where it should be. It's pretty sweet. All right, let's put our wheel back on. This is the fun part. Yeah. I got some spacers for the front. We'll deal with those another day. Oh man, so this will be exhaust iteration number 1. Now I'm seeing how awesome this is. I'm thinking I might be calling John and telling him forget the race headers. I don't want to do that. I'm gonna have to put some 2x4s under this thing once I lower it. All right, moment of truth. All right, that's a wrap on the first exhaust modification. It sounds really good. It opens it up a little bit, but I want more. I want more amplitude. I think for most people, most grown-ups, it's probably the right move. Over axle pipe, getting rid of the particulate filter, kind of opens it up. You heard it at startup. If you heard stock GT4s and you heard me drive around the stock GT4, it certainly opens it up a bit. And then if we have a more aggressive rear section, I think we're onto something. But there's no question the 981 version of the GT4 sounds better than this car does. But I really enjoy the intake noise that I'm getting from this car. And it's a little more organized than the previous gen. There's less pops and cracks and things like that. But it is a little less, it's hard to explain. It's a little less high-pitched than the previous gen car, which is kind of nice for a daily drive-around car. But I think it still needs to be more aggressive. But we got rid of those big giant filters off the side of the car. I think that'll make a pretty significant difference. And yeah, first try at an exhaust. The next will be opening up the valves. So we'll do valve controller, and then rear section and headers and all that stuff. So yeah, I think we're off to a good start. It certainly looks really cool seeing the little soul thing on the side there. But I'll do a write-up on it on Renlist. So go check out the 718 forum on Renlist. I'll do a write-up with all the photos we took of this, and be sure to update you on more exhaust stuff as we get into it. Probably go out and do some real clips at the exhaust making spot maybe this weekend or something like that. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, yeah, good successful modification. I also did some interior stuff, so if you didn't watch that video, go check out the bolster protector, cell phone mount, and the T9 design, or T Design 9, Yeah, T-Design 9 learning or memory module, it's called. But yeah, more Soul stuff coming. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one. See you soon.